Yo, almost everything about the Ku Klux Klan via television and movies is completely false. So-called reality TV Klansmen are pretenders, not members. Instead, the Ku Klux Klan was a chivalrous group which heroically defended downtrodden people. Their name was adapted from Kuklos, Greek for encircled. This calls to mind American pioneers forming their covered wagons in a circle to defend against savage Indian attacks. The Ku Klux Klan addressed physically abused women by physically punishing offending husbands, unlike prison terms which robbed the family of their breadwinner and burdened taxpayers. Klansmen also dedicated themselves to helping the poor. The original Klan's vigilantism and retribution was justified. In the post-Civil War Reconstruction period of American history, former slaves took vengeance while the United States government looked away. This vengeance included rape, murder, and burning down people's homes. They also attacked people who never owned slaves. The Klan responded by enacting martial law. If someone's wife was raped and murdered and his house burned down, most men would naturally want to hang them. Capital punishment is not murder. The Apostle Paul stated, "If I be an offender or have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die." Acts 25:11. Without Klan retribution, offenders would have escaped justice and run amok. Statute laws were inoperative. Besides, Klansmen do not burn crosses to attack Christianity. They light them to magnify it. They do not wear sheets. They wear hooded robes reminiscent of ancient monastics. Their pointy caps were reminiscent of Protestant church steeples which symbolically point to God. KKK groups actually consist of Christian believers who are predominantly poor and blue or middle class and blue-collar whites disconnected from the oppressive establishment and who support the common working man. If you want to be a Klansman, you may ask to place your hand upon a Bible open to Romans chapter 12 and swear upon it. The 1915 movie The Birth of a Nation has a refreshing perspective portraying heroic Klansmen on beautiful white stallions. Margaret Mitchell's book Gone with the Wind featured a black man attacking Scarlet and the Klan's heroic ride, unlike the famous movie which took its name and perverted its narrative, making Scarlet's attacker white, her hero black, and removed the Klan, whom Mitchell considered a necessity back then. The 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica's Ku Klux Klan entry also recognizes Klansmen as heroes. Current encyclopedias and entries obfuscate this, but history has already been written. Besides, the Black Panthers, far more violent than the Klan, are not denounced in white support other black racist groups such as the NAACP and Black Lives Matter. I confronted liberals with these facts. They responded, no racial or militant group should exist. Yet, they continually mention the KKK like a broken record while never mentioning these other groups. Bias indeed. Consider that while some groups, notably the Mafia, promoted vice, prostitution, gambling, hard drugs, intemperate alcohol consumption, and racketeering, the KKK enforced virtue in savage fashion. This displeased many, including corrupt government officials who benefited financially from the vice. Also consider that many government officials and organized crime members were Jewish, while Klansmen were anti-Jewish. The FBI even hired the Mafia to battle the KKK. That explains why the Klan was demonized. Besides, ultra-liberals would free murderers and terrorists like Larry Hoover, allowing them to victimize society because they are black, as they did in the Reconstruction period. Black male Jimmy Harris, with 60 arrests and 9 felony convictions, was free to attend Malcolm X College's Summit of Hope event where social workers fawned over black offenders. The very next day, he attempted to rob Dr. Mir Jafar Shah, brutally stabbing his face and neck, punching him in the eye, and stabbing the bartender in the chest after he tried to apprehend Harris. Police then arrested Harris, who was soaked in his victim's blood. Would it have hurt if Klansmen had dealt with Jimmy Harris instead of Malcolm X College and our broken judicial system. Furthermore, there are numerous cases where blacks murdered, raped, sodomized, tortured, brutally beat, robbed, and burned white people alive from the early 20th century till now, often getting little or no punishment. You may ask, if these are true, well-known facts, why do prestigious whites promote racial integration and bewail segregation? That's because their wealth allows them to insulate themselves from these problems. Hypocrites living in predominantly white neighborhoods in mansions surrounded by security gates with steel doors, burglar alarms, cameras, security patrols, and guns at hand, who promote integration to be popular, should be loudly denounced and completely dismissed. Ideally, no racial group should exist, but instead of throwing self-righteous tantrums, let's help them become obsolete by meeting the needs of the disgruntled who feel compelled to join such groups. Besides, people are insincere about wanting to eliminate all racial groups. For example, the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, has been venerated, while the NAAWP, a counterpart group for whites, is labeled a hate group. Actually, if the races were separate, racial groups would not exist. They exist because of conflicts when races collide. Some women joined racial groups because of being raped by black men, and some men joined racial groups because a black man murdered a family member. Yet while dope dealers destroy America's children and welfare chiefs rob us, Americans foam at the mouth in anger at hardworking conservative people who constitute most white nationalists who have helped make the United States a better place to live. So instead of hating the Klan and similar groups, we must fix our own problems and end the hypocrisy. Since the Japanese killed 3,000 in Pearl Harbor, Americans waged war on them. Since Arabs killed 3,000 in New York, Americans waged war on them. Yet while black men kill, rape, and rob over 10,000 per year, whites want to hold their hands and sing Kumbaya. Instead, we need racial groups more than ever before. Perhaps we need form our own law which bears not the sword in vain. Romans 13:1-4. So if you are a Gentile white, straight Christian responsible adult with conservative values, you may want to join the Klan.